The word incel has been used so often on the internet in recent years that we wanted to take a deeper look at the whole incel culture and the Reddit platform itself in this video. So yes, we will tell our viewers about the history of Reddit, the use of incel, and many hateful subreddits in this video. The term incel was originally coined to describe an online group for lonely people founded by a female university student in the late 1990s. It has come to represent a deeply misogynistic subculture. Incels reject accepted understandings of oppressive hierarchies and instead hold that society is fundamentally hierarchized by gender and attractiveness, favoring women and typically excluding unattractive men from romantic or sexual relationships. The subculture grew rapidly as incels formed communities known as subreddits on the popular social news website Reddit. And of course, for the better part of it, let us look at the background. Reddit is plagued by communities dedicated to misogynistic and other hateful content. The social news platform, which calls itself the front page of the internet, hosts the voices of over 430 million monthly active users in over 130,000 subreddits. While the platform allows for identity exploration and socializing, Reddit has been heavily criticized in the public eye for hosting subreddits that advocate white supremacy, the vilification of minorities, and violence against women. During Gamergate, a misogynistic harassment campaign against women in the gaming industry, Reddit's platform and algorithmic policies provided fertile ground for anti-feminist and misogynistic activism. This fertile ground is where the incels gained subscribers and notoriety. Founded in 2013, subreddit Incels was the first prominent subreddit dedicated to the incels. The subreddit marketed itself as a support group for men who were unable to engage in romantic or sexual relationships, however, using certain vocabulary common in the broader manosphere. Subscribers' discussions revealed the deeply misogynistic brand of anti-feminism to which they subscribed. Incels gained nearly 40,000 subscribers before Reddit banned the community on November 2, 2017. Reddit's move to ban the subreddit came shortly after the platform updated its rules to ban content that encourages, glorifies, incites, or calls for violence or physical harm against any person or group of people. The new subreddit Brain Cells, as well as some external discussion forums, enjoyed popularity immediately after the ban. Incels were heavily criticized by the media. The extent to which they have perpetrated acts of physical violence has raised serious concerns about their influence on subscriber behavior. Brain Cells gained increasing media attention in April 2018 after the Toronto van attacker described his affiliation with this community. This act of extreme violence showed that incels' war on women was not merely metaphorical. Criticism also came from other Reddit communities. For example, in May 2017, a Reddit user or Redditor found Incel Tears, a watchdog community dedicated to criticizing incel behavior on Brain Cells. It was not until Brain Cells had grown to over 50,000 members in September 2018 that Reddit quarantined the subreddit and made its content invisible to users who were not registered members of the subreddit. A year later, in September 2019, Reddit finally banned the community for violating its site-wide rules prohibiting bullying and harassment. Several other communities dedicated to people who have difficulty forming romantic and sexual relationships remain active on Reddit. At the time of writing, Forever Alone, a support group for people who have difficulty forming romantic relationships, has more than 170,000 members. While members and popular media consider the subreddit part of its broader collection of incel communities, Forever Alone has distanced itself from incels and banned any incel references, slang, or innuendo. However, Forever Alone has also been highly criticized as several mass murderers are said to have been members of the subreddit before committing their crimes. Reddit's user-driven content moderation system relies on volunteer moderators to manage their own subreddits. Reddit users are therefore subject to the overarching rules of the platform, informal norms and guidelines, and the varying cultural norms and self-imposed rules of the individual subreddits in which they participate. Local social norms shape behavior and set expectations for acceptable behavior, and differences in how individual subreddits are moderated mean that established norms of behavior and community culture can widely vary. Reddit community moderators play a unique leadership role as they occupy a difficult position between Reddit and their user community, committed to both and belonging to neither. Reddit provides the tools that moderators use to regulate, including a bot called Auto-Moderator that subreddit moderators customize to regulate their individual communities. Users thus exert a regulating influence by instilling norms and practices of the platform. Unlike other major digital platforms, Reddit has largely held back on content moderation. In some circumstances, it might be better to encourage smaller groups to establish rules that meet their needs rather than a set of one-size-fits-all rules that apply to an entire platform. Early cyber-libertarian literature emphasizes the benefits of decentralization. If users are able to self-select into communities whose norms are consistent with the values and tailored precisely to the needs of the local group, those norms are likely to work better for participants than generic, externally imposed rules. Community moderators who understand the culture and are known and respected by other members may also be better able to enforce rules than the armies of anonymous human moderators and machine learning classifiers that large content moderation platforms employ. The development of a toxic culture in a particular subreddit where hate thrives affects others as well. Reddit cracks down on subreddits when they become too controversial. On Reddit, quarantining can slow the growth of harmful subreddits. A recent study shows that quarantine subreddits had difficulty attracting new users. Banning entire communities may be effective in some ways to discourage their presence on the platform, although it is not clear to what extent deplatforming detoxifies the internet in general. It is likely that deplatforming pushes groups into unindexed corners of the internet that are far more resistant and difficult to moderate, allowing radicalizing, false, or hateful content to persist. However, deplatforming of large sites will likely shrink harmful communities to a highly engaged core of users. Less engaged users will no longer participate in these spaces. Reddit's ability to influence its subreddits is intentionally limited by its decentralized architecture. Reddit relies heavily on its volunteer moderators to take responsibility for their subreddits. This moderation system is inextricably linked to the culture of the subreddit. Effective rules must be consistently enforced and consistent with community expectations, and moderators are often themselves central members of the subreddits they oversee. In this paper, we use Sykes and Motz's neutralization theory to understand how incels responded to external pressure from Reddit and other Redditors to change and enforce rules to stop misogyny. This criminological approach highlights how people distance themselves from taking responsibility for their actions. The theory is widely used to examine the techniques people use to downplay their harmful behavior and resist claims that their actions are unlawful. We start from the assumption that mods do not foster pro-social communities unless they are willing to acknowledge that their behavior is harmful or take responsibility for the cultures they help create. Reddit's user base is deeply conflicted between the desire for subreddit autonomy and the demand for greater central control. In the early years of Reddit's existence, freedom of expression, subreddit autonomy, and user vote took precedence, meaning that site-wide rules were little more than the minimum necessary to comply with relevant laws and protect the platform's brand and security. Amid a major controversy over the abusive posting of intimate photos of celebrities and other women, former Reddit CEO Yishan Wang said that while Reddit sympathized with victims over the damage caused by the site's abuse, it generally would not take action against morally reprehensible behavior, because each individual is responsible for their moral actions. In recent years, Reddit has taken steps to more comprehensively regulate content on its service in the face of ever-increasing pressure from the media and its own users. In 2020, the Black Lives Matter movement prompted an Against Hate subreddits moderator to draft an open letter calling on the company to enforce its rules against hate speech and ban hateful communities. The letter was signed by moderators from more than 800 communities representing hundreds of millions of Reddit users. Within days, Reddit banned several subreddits, including the 700,000-member The Donald, a community dedicated to Donald Trump supporters. The persistent complaints from the community make it clear that Reddit's decentralized model requires a lot of work from its volunteer moderators, and that the platform's responsibility for their users' behavior is great. We'll see you in the next video. Goodbye.